Welcome, everybody. We are excited to have you join us today for recipes and tips for a healthier Passover with Ilana Muhlstein. I'm Jessica Jablon. I'm the California Program Coordinator at Sharsheret. For those of you who don't know about Sharsheret, we help women and families facing breast and ovarian cancer, as well as those who are at elevated genetic risk through free, confidential, and personalized support and resources. We also provide health education throughout the country. One of our goals during COVID is to make sure that we are offering healthy living and cancer prevention information to you during this hard time and giving you what support you need. In addition to our virtual services that can be found on our website or by emailing us, you can also access prior webinars on a range of cancer-related topics, as well as access our calendar of upcoming virtual programs through our website. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be posted on Sharsheret's website along with a transcript. Participants' faces and names will not be in the recording. If you would like to remain private, you can turn off your video and rename yourself, or you can call into the webinar. Instructions are in the chat box now for both options. You may have noticed that all participants were muted upon entry. Please keep yourself on mute throughout the call. If you have questions for Ilana, put them in the chat box, either publicly or click on Sharsheret in the chat box to submit a private question. As we move into the webinar itself, I also want to remind you that Sharsheret is a national not-for-profit cancer support and education organization and does not provide any medical advice or perform any medical procedures. This information provided by Sharsheret is not a substitute for medical advice or treatment for specific medical conditions. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat a health problem. If you have any questions that are specific to your medical care, Ilana may not be able to advise regarding specifics, and we would advise that you speak to your medical provider. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified health care provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. So we're very excited. This is the 5th program in our Sharsheret in the Kitchen series, an initiative in partnership with Cedars-Sinai here in Los Angeles to incorporate healthy meals into our Jewish holidays. The recordings for our first 3 Sharsheret in the Kitchen programs are on our website. Most recently, we spoke with Jake Cohen, author of the new cookbook, Jewish, on a modern twist on Shabbat dinner. Our next program will be on April 12th as we talk about Israeli cooking for Yom HaAtzmaut, Israeli Independence Day, with Danielle Renov, author of the popular cookbook and Instagram community, Peas, Love, and Carrots. You should have received the recipes for today's program in advance, but my colleague is putting the link into the chat box so that you can download and print it or see it on your screen. We want to thank our generous sponsors, Cedars-Sinai and the Cooperative Agreement DP19-1906 from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We are so grateful to our sponsors for helping make this program so successful. Today, we want to let you know about one of our support programs. Our National Peer Support Network connects women who share similar diagnoses and experiences. Whether you are at risk for breast or ovarian cancer, are newly diagnosed, or are a cancer survivor, our peer support program might be right for you. You can also share your own experience by becoming a Sharsheret link, which is what we call our peer supporters, and enjoy the rewarding experience of supporting other women across the country. Our confidential links connect over the phone and through email and offer invaluable friendship and support. The Peer Support Network is made possible with support from Genentech. If you are interested in finding out more about Sharsheret's free, confidential, and personalized services, please email us at clinicalstaff@sharsheret.org or visit our website at sharsheret.org. Now I want to introduce one of our wonderful volunteers and peer supporters, Natalie, who will be sharing her story with us.
Hi, my journey began when I was tested through the Before study. This was an initiative that provides genetic testing for common BRCA mutations for women and men of Ashkenazi ancestry. I read about the study in AMI magazine that they were looking for participants in New York, Philly, Boston, and LA. I work in medical market research and know the importance of clinical trials. So I thought, why not help them get to their goal of 1,000 people to be tested in LA? I never thought that I would get a positive BRCA2 diagnosis. No one in my family has or had breast cancer or any type of cancer. So this was a complete shock when I got the call with my test results. The first thing that I did was reach out to Sharsheret. I spoke with one of their genetic counselors and then made an appointment to meet with one in person at Cedars-Sinai. He gave me 3 options. 1, do nothing. 2, preventative surgery. And 3, preventative screening every 6 months. I knew that I didn't want to go every 6 months for screening and decided to have a preventative double mastectomy with immediate deep flap reconstruction. A deep flap is a type of breast reconstruction in which blood vessels called the deep inferior epigastric perforators, as well as skin and fat concentrated in the lower abdomen and transferred to the chest to reconstruct a breast after mastectomy without any sacrifice to abdominal muscles. The benefit of this type of surgery is you don't wake up flat and you don't have implants. Basically, it's a one and done surgery. I found an amazing team at UCLA and was confident that my decision was right for my family and me. My surgery took place on July 19th, 2019. It was a very long surgery, close to 12 hours and about a 6-week recovery. Thank God everything went well and I healed amazingly well. A few days after surgery, my breast surgeon called to tell me that pathology found a 2-millimeter DCIS, which is ductal carcinoma in situ. It's considered the earliest form of breast cancer. My breast surgeon was shocked it was even found. She said it was so small and not detected on any of the screenings I did prior to my surgery. She said there's no telling how long it would have taken to turn into something. I knew I made the right decision at the time of surgery, and this reaffirmed it. I'm very fortunate to have been able to know my BRCA2 status. Both my parents were subsequently tested, and my dad is the BRCA2 carrier. Many people don't realize BRCA status can come from either parent, not just your mom. I'm not shy about telling friends and acquaintances about what I was doing and going through. I know many who have tested because of me, and I'm so proud of each and every one of them for taking charge of their health. My hope is that by sharing my story, it can take the fear out of the unknown and know you are not alone. I know from my own experience how important it was to hear from peers who were in my shoes and listened to my concerns and helped guide me through this process. While I was fortunate to receive that help while going through my journey, I am now fortunate to be on the giving side and able to give back to others with the Sharsheret Peer Support Network. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie, for sharing your powerful story with all of us. We're so grateful to have you as part of our Sharsheret community, and just the impact that you make when you speak at these programs is just incredible. So thank you so much. Obviously, this year, like last year, is not a normal Passover. And we want to acknowledge that the holiday might bring up different emotions. Those who choose to celebrate will do so in a way that works best for themselves, whatever that means for each person individually. But we all hope that next year will be different. When I think about past Passovers, for me, it's about sitting around the table for the Seder or the ceremonial Passover meal with my family and eating my mother-in-law's delicious brisket, sweet haroset, and my favorite matzo ball soup. Then during the week of Passover, after all the leftovers have been enjoyed, I try to eat healthfully, but I find that sometimes I struggle with making healthy choices. And that's why I'm so excited to add these new dishes Ilana will show us how to make today and to learn some tips about keeping a healthier Passover. Now I'm going to introduce Ilana. Registered dietitian Ilana Muhlstein has become a sought-after nutrition expert and entrepreneur. Ilana is an acclaimed public speaker and sits on the prestigious executive leadership team for the American Heart Association. Her weight loss book, You Can Drop It, is a Wall Street Journal and Amazon bestseller. She also created the breakthrough weight loss program called the To Be Mindset, based on her experience, advanced education, and her hundreds of personal clients, both at UCLA and in private practice. Her latest monthly subscription service, the Mindset Membership, has over 120,000 members, and her To Be Mindset certification course is also extremely successful. Ilana has over 1 million followers on TikTok and 300,000 more across major social media platforms. We are so excited to have her here to share her recipes and her knowledge with us today at Sharsheret in the Kitchen. Ilana, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored and excited. I love Sharsheret. I love all of your events, and I'm so Happy to be participating in one. I want to get going on the demo, but I do want to answer questions as we go along. Spitfire, whatever questions you have at me. I did do some of the prep work. I'm going to start with the mushroom pizza bites to start. Preheated the oven. I also have a non-Passover baked oat thing in there, so that alarm might go off sooner. I apologize. But I'm super excited to do this. And just a quick note, I'm a registered dietitian. As a registered dietitian, you have to do a residency similar to a doctor. And I was placed at City of Hope Cancer Hospital and have a lot of experience counseling breast cancer and other cancer patients. So this is a dear, really close and dear organization to my heart. So thank you all for being on. Okay, so we're starting with the mushroom pizza bites. So I hope some people are cooking along with me. I can't see all the screens, but that would be amazing if you are. So I started with steps basically 1 through 3, super basic. By the way, this is great with shiitake mushrooms. It is also great with eggplant slices. It is also, Alexa off, those are my oats. Okay, this recipe is great with eggplant slices, shiitake mushrooms, portobello mushrooms. It's great with zucchini boats. It's just so easy to have a healthy Passover these days. It's crazy. So basically you take the mushroom caps and you want to bake them, and then you want to remove the stems. So I'll show you, I have like a little paring knife. You want to be careful, but just remove the stems. You could do this part before or after, and then remove the stems just like so. And then you will see that there's a lot of water that comes out. We want a lot of water coming out of our veggies. That's because veggies are filled with water, which is so good for us. I mean, we can talk about cancer preventative diet, gut healthy diet, heart healthy diet, all we want. It's always going to come down to veggies most, which is why I coined the term water first, veggies most, because it really is timeless. And we know the more veggies we eat, the better off we are. There's no reason to leave Passover waddling away. It is too easy to make healthier recipes these days. And Passover really is meant to be somewhat of a cleanse for us. So when we translate it to tons of packaged and processed foods and cottonseed oil and all these things, it really goes against the tradition of the holiday. So keep it to whole foods, keep it to lots of veggies, and you're going to be sure to be on your way. So if you see, I'm blotting up a good amount of water that comes out of these mushrooms. You know, just want to kind of blot it away. Any questions coming in before I go into my filling?
There aren't any currently in the chat.
Feel free, guys, to ask me whatever you like. I love interaction. It's more fun that way. Okay, so now I'm going to add in tomato sauce, super basic. You know, we've been like growing up on matzah pizza, but I have to tell you, this year especially, there's really no reason to make a matzah pizza. I know, you know, we think it's like tradition and exciting, but if you look at my Instagram page, I just created this recipe called cloud bread pizza. It will change your whole life. I'm not joking. It's gone like crazy viral for a reason. You can make, the original recipe has a little cornstarch, but you can make it with almond flour. It's amazing. It's like 3 times the serving size as a sheet of matzah pizza. Matzah pizza doesn't have any fiber in it, and it doesn't have any like real protein in it aside from the cheese. And this cloud bread pizza is packed with protein. It has 16 plus grams of protein. It'll actually keep you full. It's a total game changer. It's going to change your whole Pesach. And then you have the mushroom pizzas, you have eggplant pizzas. There's just so many better ways to do Pesach. So now I'm adding some spinach. This is optional, but it definitely makes them look pretty. You just want to rough chop the spinach. And these turn into like little mushroom bites. I don't know if you can find dairy-free cheese this year for Pesach. I'm guessing you should be able to at some point because almond, a lot of them are made out of almond or cashew, but this is probably a dairy recipe. The next one I'm going to make will be vegan, but you could easily swap this. You don't even have to add the cheese if you were dairy-free.
Is there
and
a good,
yeah.
Sorry, is there a good substitute for those who have nut allergies for the mud cakes and the cloud pizza? You know, can they use something other than the almond flour?
You could use matzo meal flour, and you'd still be getting a good amount of protein and fiber from the apples or pumpkin. So you can totally do that. Almond flour is definitely going to be a little lower in carbohydrates, higher in protein and fiber, but not necessary. There's not even that much in the recipe. Okay, so I have my little mushroom pizzas. Now I'm gonna top them with some cheese. You definitely want a little bit on each one. I do like making these with portobello mushrooms just because, you know, it's like a heartier pour, and it really does a pizza craving, I'm telling you, especially if you like mushroom pizza, you really don't miss the crust at all. It's amazing. I also have recipes within my Mindset membership and like everywhere for cauliflower crust pizza. I have some cauliflower rice here. I made cauliflower crust pizza for dinner last night. Delicious. I have a recipe for spaghetti squash crust pizza. I mean, 2021, it's never been easier to have a healthier Passover and a healthier life. So don't miss out on that. Okay, I'm putting my mushroom pizzas in the oven.
They look delicious.
Yeah, aren't they cute?
They're
and then
so
we'll
cute.
get onto the apple mud cake or pumpkin, whatever you prefer to make. All right, where is my noodles? And let me know any other questions you may have.
What are some other snacks that you would recommend for during Passover?
Passover is literally like the hype up is so intense. Like, what am I going to buy? What am I going to do? What am I going to have? But if you've been eating an overall healthy lifestyle, like if you've been following my 2B mindset or have my book, you'll see it's really not that crazy of a difference. Certainly, veggies and dip are great. Sure, if you're, Ashkenazi and you don't eat hummus, you just swap it out for tzatziki. Tzatziki, dill, little lemon, Greek yogurt, lots of cucumbers, you have a dip there. You can make a baba ganoush by, just roasting a whole eggplant and, blending that. If you can't have tahini, I mean, that's fine. You just blend it with some even like lemon juice and it would taste delicious. Also, guacamole is amazing. If you can get your hands on some avocados, guacamole and some veggies as a dip is great. I also like to make guacamole deviled eggs, by putting some guacamole, like popping out the yolks, putting guacamole in that. So many good options. We have almond butter. So apples and almond butter. You can make ants on a log instead of peanut butter, put almond butter and celery with some raisins on top. Sky's the limit. So many options. I feel like everyone focuses on what they can't have and doesn't focus enough on what they can have, which is just more than ever these days. So with cauliflower rice, I make like a cauliflower rice risotto, kind of just like melt cheese into cauliflower rice, delicious. Okay, I'm moving my pizza bites aside. And we're gonna make this apple spice mug cake. You could also make the pumpkin. I also have a recipe on how to make it a banana mug cake. This is an amazing breakfast with the 2B mindset with my weight loss program, but it's also great as a dessert. It's nice that it's vegetarian and it's actually really nice that it's high in protein and everything else like that. And it's quick and easy to make. Also, if you wanna make them not on Yontif, so not have the microwave, should have tips in the PDF recipe of how to bake it in the oven in advance. You could definitely do that as well.
There were some questions in the chat about the mushrooms. If there's a mushroom allergy or somebody doesn't like mushrooms, I know you mentioned eggplant.
Eggplant pizzas, zucchini pizzas, just take a zucchini, slice it in half, scoop out the seeds. Or I have a recipe in my book, you can drop it, of zucchini pizza coins, kind of like slicing them like coins. You could do that as well. And like I said, you can make a cauliflower crust pizza or a spaghetti squash crust pizza as well. Or my cloud bread pizza, highly recommend trying that. It has like 2 million views on TikTok now. It is
I saw it yesterday. It looks amazing. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. We put Ilana's Instagram in the chat, and of course it'll be in the follow-up email as well.
That is game-changing pizza crust, I have to tell you.
I'm definitely going to try it.
I have my apple mug cake recipe. These are a huge hit, and I was so excited to see a few weeks ago. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's perfect for Passover. Amazing. So I'm going to actually follow the recipe. I have it out. I'm going to make the apple spice mug cake because that's actually my favorite. I love it. The chunks of apple in this are to die for, like so good. So, and you make the whole thing in a microwave, which is really nice. So we're gonna spray a mug. I tried to keep a clear one so you can see everything going on. And feel free to keep asking more questions.
Perfect.
And I'm gonna take an egg.
There was a question with the mug cake. You haven't gotten to that point yet with the yogurt, but do you have a substitution for yogurt?
Yes, I don't know if it's, I mean, I told you in advance, but if you can't find coconut yogurt, which should be fine on Passover, you can just, I'm using plain non-fat Greek yogurt. We just wanted to keep the recipe dairy-free for those who are dairy-free. I have this constantly as my breakfast, and I use plain unsweetened Greek yogurt, and that works much better as a higher protein breakfast that will keep you full all morning, or just, you know, a healthier dessert. So you totally do that. You could also use a little dollop of whipped cream if you're doing this as more of a dessert, and you want it to be dairy-free, whatever you want to do. I'm gonna start by just whisking the egg. By the way, if you've never made a mug cake, they're like incredibly satisfying, especially if you're a person who doesn't have a lot of self-control with a large cake. It's really nice to be able to make a single serving cake that you know is good for you. Okay, next I'm gonna add the applesauce. Let me know, any other questions?
Yes, there's a question. How did you decide to make the switch to a healthy lifestyle, and how do you stay motivated to continue eating healthy?
The question I get asked all the time. I don't know if you know so much about my past, but clearly not. But I was actually 100 pounds overweight. That's just like a picture. I was 100 pounds overweight growing up on the Upper West Side in New York City. I suffered with my weight tremendously. I was way over 200 pounds as a 13-year-old kid. So I really like changed my whole mindset and my way about doing things. Definitely my Passovers as a child were more about the macaroons, the matzo pizzas, and whatever else I can get my hands on. And I've thankfully, in developing my healthy lifestyle, creating my 2B Mindset weight loss program, I see so many other benefits to Passover now, and I'm a lot less, you know, really drawn out by food like I used to be. Not only was I 100 pounds heavier, but I was just in an unhealthy place. My blood sugar levels were elevated. My cholesterol levels were elevated. My doctor was really concerned about me, especially because I was a young kid. So I went on and I started losing weight on my own with my methods as a volume eater, as someone who loves food. And I went on to get, you know, the highest education in nutrition, so I can counsel, you know, now hundreds of thousands of people in a way that is most simple, sensible, and sustainable. So I became a registered dietitian. I have my master's degree in nutrition. And now, you know, thankfully, that is what I get to do, is help change people's lives on a daily basis through, you know, how they nourish their body. I kind of have like, my whole book is wrapped in, you know, people's stories and everything like that. And then a lot of people ask me that follow-up question: how do you stay motivated? How do you stay motivated? My answer is probably twofold. One is, I've always enjoyed the journey. I never suffered while losing weight. I don't believe in suffering while you lose weight and get healthy. I've always kept it flavorful, fun, and delicious. So one is, there's nothing to dread when you do my program. And the other thing is, I was really miserable when I was overweight. So I was unhappy, I was unhealthy, I was huffing and puffing up the stairs. I had chub rub. I feared doctor's appointments, the whole thing. So it's really easy for me to see all the benefits and stay motivated constantly. I just want to make sure I add this in. Okay, so I added in the applesauce. Now I'm adding in the almond flour, and then let me know the next question. I just want to make sure we're moving along here.
There is a question about your 2B Mindset program.
Sure.
Do you have any suggestions for making holidays and Shabbat meals easier when you're following it, when you're doing multi-course meals?
Yeah, of course. I'm just going to stir it. All my ingredients are now uniform and together. Multi-course meals are the hardest part of Shabbos. You know, what's really cool is I have a group of, I think like over 60 women based in Israel, but all across the world, 5 towns, LA, everywhere, who are all doing the 2B Mindset together, and they're Orthodox women. They're amazing. One of the people you can reach out to is the Yellet Rab. She's awesome. She like coaches so many firm women through it, and they are thriving. They're amazing. You know, all these women are at a lower weight for their kids' bar mitzvahs than they were at their own bat mitzvahs. It's like really an inspiring thing. So one, it's really great to have that community sense of support. If you want to, reach out to these other firm women, it's nice to be part of their group. I'd say multi-courses, you can pretty much figure out with my program. The hardest thing is the Challah course. So I'm gonna get to that in a minute. I'm just gonna throw this into the microwave for 2 to 3 minutes. And I'm gonna set it for 2.5. And I'm gonna answer that question. Hold on. So that's the coolest part of this, is you literally just put it in the microwave. I'm gonna actually set it for 2 because I have a pretty powerful microwave, and I'm also gonna take out the mushrooms. Woo! Because these look delicious. Do you guys see that?
Yum.
So delicious. 1 second. Let me get a pot holder. I just got this cute little pink pot holder. Very Sharsheret. Okay, so
Perfect for Sharsheret.
And so I'm gonna let that cool. I'd say the hardest part about Shabbos is the Challah course. I don't know when the Challah course started, but the Challah dip course is the worst thing to happen to the Jewish Orthodox community. Studies consistently show there's a great food. He studies like mindless eating and food consumption. He's a PhD named Brian Wansink. He has amazing books on mindless eating. And then there's another PhD, Dr. Stephen Witherly, who has amazing research on mindless eating and food addictive and what makes us eat, a whole container of Oreo cookies. And he just came out with a recent study that showed if you start your meal with white bread, like Italians do when they go to a restaurant, or like we do every single Shabbos, it can increase the amount you eat by 30%. So a lot of us feel like, oh, I go to a restaurant and they give me free bread. They just want to be generous. They don't just want to be generous and fill you up with free food that would distract you from paying for food. No, they know that if you start your meal with lots of white bread, you will actually eat about 30% more and order more. So challah is a tricky way to start the meal, which is why I always recommend drinking loads and loads and loads of water first, going into your Shabbat meal, and having challah, of course, as part of the tradition, but making sure you actually keep snackable veggies on the table as well. Especially if you're doing a dill dip or a baba ganoush dip or a hummus dip or guacamole dips, we know it's really easy to keep going into that over and over and over again with the challah. So if you keep out baby carrots and celery sticks, it's amazing how you and your family will start eating more veggies with it. And I recommend just moving the meal along, serving the challah, getting the bracha, and going into the soup, going into the salad, and moving it along. Because sitting with that huge challah board in front of us is really not our best method.
So interesting. There's another question. Some of your recipes, especially desserts, suggest using freeze-dried strawberries or raspberries. Do you have any alternatives? This person is joining us from Canada and they're hard to find.
Sure. If you're, everyone I speak to in Canada doing my program, yes, it's definitely harder to acquire some things in other places. Freeze-dried fruit is awesome. It's much, much, much healthier for you than dried fruit. Dried fruit is kind of like a glorified piece of candy, which we also see a lot on Passover. We see prunes and dried pears and all that stuff. Really easy to overdo that stuff, especially if you're like one of those people who go to a Pesach program and they have those tea rooms. It's just like loads and loads of dried fruit. So freeze-dried fruit is a nice alternative to it because it's like kind of like crispy and they dehydrate it, but they don't concentrate the sugars as much. If you can't find it in grocery stores, that's fine. You can use fresh fruit as a substitute. And you can also sometimes find it in the baby aisle because freeze-dried fruit is something like that people typically give to babies because it kind of melts in your mouth.
That's a great trick. Does it help if the challah is whole wheat?
It absolutely helps if the challah is whole wheat. In fact, all challah should be whole wheat. We should never be stripping the whole grain from our challah. So absolutely better to have whole wheat. And then it really depends on if you're trying to achieve weight loss or weight management. But yeah, your amount of it will always be a factor. But when you eat it and it's whole wheat, it definitely has more fiber. It's definitely better for your heart health and your gut health, and definitely can help with preventing lots of health issues involving cancer and so forth. There's lots of great studies on fiber and the benefits of everything. So it's better overall, and having fiber in there can also help prevent addictive eating to a degree, because it just keeps you fuller a little bit longer. But, you know, still something to think about in terms of the challah course. We got to work on that challah as a course, because that definitely didn't used to be the case. And it's definitely picking up as like the dip trend is thriving. And we can work on it, because chicken is great with those dips, you know, salmon is great with those dips, you know, roasted vegetables are great with those dips. So it's not like we have to get rid of the dips. I love dips, but the vehicle to eat loads and loads of them with the challah, you know, tends to go past like how much we really need to fulfill the mitzvah. Okay, so I want to show you, because I think it's kind of hard to see. These mushroom bites are literally looking absolutely positively fantastic. Like, they're crispy on the top, they're delicious. Like, wow, what a nice, if you were doing a dairy night on Yontif, you were doing a dairy dinner. Wow, just serve up a plate of these, delicious. Be careful, the cake mug, when it comes out, it is piping hot, but it is lovely. And I'm gonna top it with some Greek yogurt, but yes. Oh my gosh, I made a huge mistake. I was so excited speaking to you. I forgot to add in the chopped apples. I'm kind of really sad about that, because the chopped apples in this is actually the best part of it. I have to say, the chopped apples, they cook in like it's apple pie, amazing. When you make this at home, because you'll probably make this several times, not just today, do not forget the chopped apples or the walnuts if you're making the pumpkin, having those like chunks. I'm all into chunks and dips and textures and things like that. So don't forget that, because that is a critical part that makes it taste so good.
There's a question about freeze-dried versus frozen.
Uh-huh.
Are they the same?
No, they're not the same. They're a very big difference in terms of sugar and calories. Freeze-dried is much lower in sugar and calories, and it's a much larger serving size compared to dried fruit. Dried fruit is a very, very tricky thing if you're trying to control your blood sugar levels and weight management. But I mean, some raisins or craisins in a salad, or, you know, on your ants on a log, like we were talking about, are fine. But just sitting at a Shabbat table and just, you know, eating like a quarter platter of those big candy dishes of the dried fruit can be tricky if you're someone who's trying to control your blood sugar levels or your weight, for sure. Fresh fruit is an amazing alternative. Slicing up lots of strawberries or cantaloupe or melons, huge benefit compared to dried fruit. You want the water in your fruit. You want the crisp. You want the chew. That water helps keep you full. It's volumetrics. It really makes you feel full. You don't need to eat as much. Definitely something to consider. I'm adding some plain unsweetened Greek yogurt. It's like the highest protein, most wonderful thing I have all the time. Big fan. I always have containers in my house.
What brand do you like to use?
You know what? It switches off. Fahe, Chobani. I love actually that kosher, that Challah Yisrael Normans is fantastic. They are my savior during Pesach. This one's called Open Nature. Okay, very nice. And then you could top it with a little bit more cinnamon, and voila, you have such a beautiful, hearty, fulfilling breakfast that you can eat all Pesach long.
If you wanted to keep it parev,
you don't need the yogurt topping on the top. You could just have it as a cake. You can use coconut yogurt, you can use non-dairy yogurt, whatever you like.
And do you recommend fat-free or low-fat, or what kind of yogurt are you?
0 to 2% plain Greek is your best choice. You definitely want to find a Greek-style yogurt, because that's going to be the highest in protein. And with a recipe like this, where it's already sweet, you don't necessarily need any flavor yogurt. It's like, as long as you have a nice piece of the cake and the yogurt in the same bite, especially when you add in those chopped apples, it's really delicious on its own. You probably don't need a sweetener. And if you do need a sweetener, I recommend stevia or monk fruit extract.
And do you cover the mug when you're cooking it in the microwave?
No, I don't. And I did mine for 2.5 minutes. After 2 minutes, it still felt liquidy. So I went for that extra 30 seconds. And it's really amazing that this recipe tastes nothing like Passover.
Somebody says, I am a pescatarian vegetarian. During the year, I eat a lot of soy products along with protein for a protein source along with veggies. Pesach has always been somewhat challenging because my food intake is more limited. Do you have any healthy alternative suggestions for Passover?
If you're someone who is very used to tofu and seitan and Beyond Burgers and Impossible Meat, Morningstar and all that stuff, Pesach is definitely going to be tricky for you. The good news on you is that you're a pescatarian. So, you know, bring on the delicious fish and switch it up. Go for cod and sea bass and flounder and salmon and tuna, because those are great substitutes for high protein sources. And if you still are vegetarian and you still eat eggs and Greek yogurt, you're definitely in luck.
Somebody is asking, must you use almond flour? What about regular flour?
We're making this kosher for Passover, so particularly we chose almond flour. Almond flour also is lower in carbohydrate. It's higher in protein, healthy fats, and fiber compared to flour. So we used it for a few reasons.
There was a question, I know you had mentioned stevia and monk fruit sweetener. Somebody had, in the questions that came in during registration, was interested in knowing if xylitol was okay.
Sure, and it should be kosher for Passover. It is derived from fruit, but ask your rabbi on that.
What about cassava flour instead of almond? If you have an almond allergy, would that work?
Sure. Yeah, and if it's not Passover and you want to try to make it with like chickpea flour, try that too.
Oh, there was one question that we also received about using salt in recipes. If you have a suggestion for an alternative.
If you are using salt in recipes, that's totally fine. I use salt too. In general, even when you're using salt in your own recipes, generally speaking, we actually, Americans, it's been studied, take in more salt in the form of restaurant meals and packaged foods compared to home cooking. So you don't have to be like scared to use a little pinch as long as you have, you know, a healthy heart and no, blood pressure. Always speak to your doctor, but a pinch of salt goes a long way in roasting vegetables and eating lots of delicious food. So you don't have to make yourself crazy with that. You want your home cooked food to taste delicious, and salt can definitely enhance flavors of a dish. But I do recommend sea salt or like pink Himalayan sea salt compared to just table salt. It's richer in minerals and it could be better for our body's absorption of the salt.
We've gotten a lot of questions about your cloud bread recipe.
Great.
And I just want to confirm you can find that recipe on your Instagram, right?
My Instagram or my TikTok, you can find those recipes. I have one that is like over 1.5 million views on both Instagram Reels and TikTok. And then I made one recently, just like 2 days ago, that uses the almond flour to make it more appropriate for Pesach, but it's really the same recipe, just changes the flour.
And I will say it looked so good. I get
like hundreds of people tagging me to their recipes every day. It's like really a miracle recipe. I have to say, I'm happy everyone else is enjoying it, but personally, I'm like, wow, I hit the jackpot. I love this so much.
It looks amazing. And just for those of you following along at home, Ilana's Instagram and TikTok are in the chat. We will also send those out in the recording, in the follow-up email. So you will definitely be able to check those out. Oh yeah, and you're getting some comments of people who've tried the cloud bread who say it's terrific. So
I will not be even messing with matzah pizza this year. I've tried to avoid it a couple of years because it's never as good as you remember it being as a kid. But with this, it's like 1,000,000 times better. It's crazy. But I mean, not just health-wise, because it's light years healthier than matzah pizza, but also just in taste and texture. It's crazy. And in size, it's much bigger for like the same calories.
It almost looked like a pizza, like a regular pizza that you would get at the, you would order.
People top it with like spinach and artichoke. People are using like dairy-free cheese and using, even like meat on it, or people are doing like, like impossible meat crumbles on it. People are doing tomato slices, basil slices. It's really awesome. So definitely check that out. Definitely, check me out for more suggestions and recipes. People ask me all the time, what are your Pesach recipes? If you become a member of my Mindset membership at themindsetmembership.com, it's like probably 75% of the recipes are kosher for Passover, just because they're veggie based, they're protein based, they're flavoring based, and they can definitely help you and your overall health. Of course, we have some recipes that use beans and things like that, but for the most part, you're in really good hands with my library of recipes. If I look at like the 40 plus recipes in my book, you can drop it here. I'd say also at least 70% are going to be kosher for Pesach, at least. In my book, I wanted people to love veggies and not think of them as intimidating, but look at them as like amazing pizza bites. And so I did 5 veggies, 5 ways: cabbage, spaghetti squash, where I'm making cabbage steaks, and spaghetti squash lasagna, and zucchini pizza coins. And, it's like all bacon and date cabbage salad, where you could use kosher Jack's bacon. Delicious. I mean, all these recipes are kosher for Passover, good for you, good for your health, good for your family, because we really need to thrive as a Jewish community. We cannot keep eating the same, apple kugels made with canned apples forever. We really have to evolve, especially because on Shabbos and Yontif meals, we're always eating more, like by default, with more people at the table, with less to do. We're always going to be eating like 20 to 40% more at minimum, large meals and the whole thing. So slimming down your actual meals will make you feel so much better going into Shavuos, going into the summer, and, just living your life. So definitely recommend my book. Definitely recommend, making these recipes as Pesach and, following along so you can take this healthier journey with me that could be fun and fulfilling and satisfying, because it doesn't have to be a chore. It should be really fulfilling and enjoyable.
There were a couple of questions about joining the From To Be Mindset group and just joining the Mindset program.
Yeah.
And how do we do that?
The best way is I'm going to like flood her Instagram inbox. But the person who runs it is an amazing woman. She's born and raised in New York and now lives in Israel. Her name is Ayelet Rab. Her last name is Raab. I'll tell her to expect you. I think she may be expecting it, because I saw her give you. Yeah, she just said, "I'm here." She gave a shout out of hello. Hook everyone out. She's like, it's an amazing group. I'm part of it. Like I, follow along it too. It's amazing. They did like a learning challenge. It's really, really amazing to have that sense of support, that there's such a thriving number of Orthodox women who are crushing it in their health and their fitness, balancing like loads of kids and jobs. It's definitely super inspiring. I'm inspired by them every day.
There was a question about substituting almond flour and regular flour. Do you use the same amount?
Yeah, it should be the same amount.
Yeah, and Ayala is getting some raves too in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I all of the information that you're sharing is just so important and valuable, and it just kind of makes us think about how we eat, and just I love the idea of looking at Passover as, not what I shouldn't be eating, but what can I be eating. That's really such a wonderful approach. I'm looking through some of the other questions that we received. Are there other non-complicated recipes that kids enjoy that you recommend?
Sure. Definitely like ants on a log. Like I said, the cloud bread pizza is not complicated. My kids totally ate that. I made one version with like sprinkles and a little sugar in it, and it tasted like this amazing cotton candy my kids were crazy about, but they were eating like 16 grams of protein. I was thrilled. The kids love this apple mug, They might want like the sweetened vanilla yogurt on top, but they'll totally eat it. And I didn't add the sweetener packets today, but for sure go ahead and add them. my kids love veggies and dips. You probably are like, no, my kids don't. Well, that is probably because you're not eating them. You're not making them look delicious. You're not getting them involved. When you start to actually take this as an initiative in your own health, and on Shabbos meals, you actually slice a couple of Persian cucumbers on the table along with the challah and the dips, and everyone sees that refreshing crunch is actually super satisfying, they will start to grow into that. So I know you're like, nope, not me, not my kid. It's really not the case. You never want to throw in the towel in terms of your kids and their nutrition and health, because learning how to eat in a way that nourishes your body and makes it thrive and makes them able to hike and bike ride and feel confident and feel healthy and thrive in their lives and not have to fall for diet culture later in their life is an extremely valuable life skill that you can give to a kid. So it's not one to be undermined, because when you actually improve the nutrition and health of a kid, it's unbelievable how much helps, whether it's behavior or it's future confidence or it's future abilities. It's like, it's unbelievable how much I suffered as a kid who was eating unhealthy, thinking my parents were great for giving me like as much ice cream and donuts as I wanted, thinking like that was the way to live, but then really just being so uncomfortable on sleepovers and trying out for a basketball team and so forth. And now, finding this way of life, what I call my to be mindset, is really the best of every world, where kids can feel loved and valued and have treats and sweets, and not feel ever restricted, but really, take advantage of all the wonderful benefits that healthy living has.
There's a couple of questions. I think there were a couple of questions about the cloud pizza recipe, the cloud bread recipe. I think what we'll do is we'll send a link to your post in our follow-up email so that everybody will be able to have that recipe. Additionally, are there, in addition to your book, there are recipes that you share on Instagram and TikTok all the time. They're also in your book, which you can buy anywhere, right?
My book, you can drop it. You could buy on Amazon, local bookstores, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold. There's also an audiobook that you can listen to on your power walks in the morning or in the car, whenever you want it. And there's 40 plus recipes in here. And then my Mindset membership is free for the first month. So it's great to sign up for that, because once you sign up for my Mindset membership, you get not only the recipes that are delivered every single week, but you get the whole library, which is now over like 100 delicious recipes categorized by gluten-free and breakfasts and lunches and snacks and dinners. And I'm personally, definitely kosher style. I feel like everyone's interpretation of kosher runs the gamut, but you'll see if the recipe has shrimp in it, I'm using the fake kind. If it has bacon, I'm using like the Jack's kosher bacon. I'm not mixing meat and milk together unless it's dairy-free cheese and like vegan meat. So all the recipes are, every single recipe in there. People are like, can you do it if you're kosher? It's like, there's not one recipe I haven't eaten. Making some substitutions, of course, but you can do it all.
Have you ever done any experimenting with FODMAP recipes?
Yeah, you can find low FODMAP recipes within the membership too. Keep out the garlic, keep out the onions. Just again, like make the substitutions where you need to. There's plenty of veggie-based recipes that are low FODMAP, zucchini, lettuce, things like that. So you'll find lots of recipes that you can adapt to any lifestyle, any allergy. You just have to be open-minded to making swaps and suggestions whenever need be.
I think that's so important for us to hear. Sometimes we know it, but to just hear it again is really valuable. There seem to be, there aren't any more questions left in the chat. So I'm just gonna end that portion of our program here. We want to just thank you, Ilana. This has been amazing.
Sure. Yeah.
I love the simple recipe. Like, they didn't take that long to make and prepare and to enjoy. So I think that's just so wonderful. I know I can't wait to make these dishes during Passover, and I'm sure everybody else feels the same.
My best recommendation, I'll throw in one great weight loss, weight management, health tip for your Seder. Something I always do is two things. I always say water first, veggies most. Those are my 4 words that are going to save the world. So water first, make sure you're drinking water in between every glass of wine. You're allowed, speak to your rabbi, speak to your doctor, whatever you want. Make sure you are drinking plenty and plenty and plenty of water in between and every other glass of wine. If you are using grape juice, I highly, highly, highly recommend using a smaller glass or diluting it with some water, because that is a lot of sugar. And our new recent study came out, I posted about it on my Instagram, that having 12 grams of added sugar in beverages, including fruit juices like orange juice and grape juice, which is literally just a few sips of grape juice. It's not even a full cup. It's like a few sips of grape juice can increase, and they did the study with 100,000 people in France, can increase a person's cancer risk by about 18%. And when they saw with women and breast cancer, it can raise it even higher. I think it was like 21%. So definitely check out that study. If you're using grape juice, fine, just use a smaller cup and dilute it. Please, 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 better for you, better for everyone. And veggies most. My favorite part of the Seder is karpas. I eat like just leaves and leaves of lettuce, tons of celery, daikon radish, whatever it is. Definitely snack on that so you don't go into the meal too hungry. It's the best part of Pesach is that we start with lots of veggies. So definitely.
There was one question that just snuck in regarding the water. I thought that drinking water while eating was not good because it dilutes stomach acid, etc.
I highly disagree with that. That's never been proven in studies. If you notice, when I baked the mushrooms, water came out. All of our food, aside from oil, contains water in it. Even butter is about 15% water. Meat is about 30% water. There's lots of water in our fruit and veggies. Eating water-filled foods while you eat is super good for you. So eating water too would be super good for you. If you have any issues with your digestive enzymes, you can speak to your doctor. But I think that is one of those silly beliefs that has never been proven with evidence-based research.
Great.
Okay. This is so fun, guys. Thank you for such amazing questions and good energy. I am excited to follow up with you after this call and hear about your cloud bread pizzas, your apple pie mug cakes, your mushroom pizzas, and beyond. You're going to do great. You guys can do this. We can definitely have a healthier Passover and just Jewish lifestyles.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful for you to be here today. And if we highly recommend that you follow Ilana on Instagram and check out her tips and tricks about healthy eating. We also want to give thanks again to Natalie for sharing her inspirational story with us today. Please take a moment to fill out the brief evaluation survey that is linked in the chat box now. Evaluations really do inform our future programming. So thank you for that. And Ilana has graciously donated 5 cookbooks to people who have filled out our evaluation. We'll be doing a raffle. So if you are interested in potentially winning a cookbook from Ilana, please fill out the survey. We'd love for you to stay connected with Sharsheret via social media on Facebook or at Sharsheret1 on Instagram, where we post about events like these, program updates, and fun ways to get involved. Please never forget that Sharsheret is here for you and your loved ones during this time. Sharsheret provides emotional support, mental health counseling, and other programs designed to help you navigate through the cancer experience. All are free, completely private, one-on-one, and our number is 866-474-2774. You can also email us at clinicalstaff@sharsheret.org. Our social workers and genetic counselor are available to each of you. You are our priority, so please never hesitate to reach out. We're all going through this together. Finally, I want to let you know that we have several exciting webinars on a wide range of topics planned over the next few months. Our next webinar, Crossing the Sea, a Sharsheret Seder, is this Friday, March 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Join us as we come together for a most inspiring pre-Passover experience. We'll share recipes you can add to your celebration, traditions you can bring to your Seder table, and discuss how cancer and COVID can mimic enslavement in many ways. Crossing the Sea is the metaphorical time to ensure none of these things become the mitigating forces in our lives. Additionally, please save the date for the next Sharsheret in the Kitchen with Danielle Renna from Peas, Love, and Carrots on April 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. The link for these programs are in the chat. From all of us at Sharsheret, we want to thank you for joining us today. We wish all of you a wonderful Passover holiday. Thank you.